Hello, I'm Fred Evans. Welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. Scientists will hold the second March for Science on Saturday in Washington, and the Nature Conservancy will be there to highlight the conservation and science work taking place in our area. Sev Smith from the Nature Conservancy will explain the reasons to march. Spring is finally here, and Maryland's farmers are ready to go into the growing season. Charlotte Davis, the Executive Director of the Rural Maryland Council, will tell us why agriculture is important in our state. Artists in Montgomery County now have the opportunity to submit their work to the Beacon newspapers, where it will be exhibited and judged this summer. Stuart Rosenthal, the editor and publisher of the Beacon, has the story. Alzheimer's disease is a devastating disease for people in our community and around the country, but there are some ways that the disease can be treated to make it more manageable for sufferers and their families. Henry Hailstock, who comments for Montgomery Week in Review, will review the treatments. Welcome to all of you. Sev, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about the Nature Conservancy, correct?
That's right, yep, great pronunciation. Nature Conservancy is the world's leading conservation and science organization. We are active in all 50 U.S. states, 72 countries around the world, and all the world's oceans.
Wow. And what kind of work do you do?
So I'm what's called field marketing. So I go out from everywhere from the Appalachian Mountains to the Chesapeake Bay, and I cover our stories, and I kind of explain the work that we're doing in those landscapes. I also work on activities like the March for Science that's coming up this weekend. The Nature Conservancy is a major sponsor of that event.
What exact March for Science? What is the event? What do they do?
Sure, well, you know how we all probably have those friends or relatives that make their birthday into a month-long extravaganza? Well, that's what the Nature Conservancy does around Earth Day. So really in April, we try to identify the best opportunities to put our people out there in the community and to talk about nature and to get people excited and connect people to nature. And the March for Science is really a good opportunity for us to do that as a science organization. So we'll be on the Mall this Saturday off of Constitution and 17th Street. We'll have a lot of our scientists on hand to answer questions, to talk to the crowds, and just to kind of be there and be present and be seen.
Well, I don't know about your family, but we really don't want to celebrate birthdays on birthdays. But what are some of the key issues that you want the public to know about the environment and some of the things that you are promulgating?
Sure, well, when it comes to the march, I think the main reason that we're there and that we have such a big presence at the march is to advocate for fact and science-based policymaking, and we don't think that there's ever a bad time to make that statement. Throughout the rest of the month of April, it's more kind of community-based activities just to connect with people on a more personal level. We're going to have folks planting trees at one of our preserves in Western Maryland. We're going to be leading these bio blitzes, so you go on a hike with one of our naturalists and you can take pictures with your smartphone and be a citizen scientist for a day. So this is really just a month of us trying to take a step back from some of the issues that we spend so much time focused on and to get out there in the community and try to connect with people and get them excited about being outdoors. It's spring, things are blooming and blossoming, and it's a good time to talk about it.
It is
spring. Do you
spring?
support research as well, or?
We do, yep.
Yeah.
We partner with a lot of universities and other research institutions to work on a lot of the science issues that we focus on.
Climate change, for example, is that part of your issue?
It is, yep. And in Maryland, we have kind of two climate resilience programs that we talk about, our coastal resilience work over on the eastern shore of Maryland and our healthy forests work in Western Maryland to keep the Appalachians connected.
And don't you have areas that you've preserved in your portfolio with what you're doing?
Yeah, that's really our legacy, kind of our DNA is land protection. We have preserves, and we now want to kind of take those preserves and put them to work as demonstration sites or living laboratories, and try to use those protected lands as ways to expand the scope and breadth of our work to tackle some of these bigger issues like climate change, for example.
Aren't there some issues with some of these preserves? Government, or I won't say the president, but try to turn that into other things other than a preserve, the protection and everything.
Well, I
opening
think
it
the
up.
value, what they're doing is that they are private and they're not subject to some of the stuff that we're seeing at the state and local level. Previous administrations at the state have tried to sell off land, or parks, because they can be seen as revenue generators, because you charge a fee.
Right.
So it's a strategy with government. But I think what the Nature Conservancy is doing is, because it's going into private hands, it isn't subject to the whims of whatever the administrative philosophy may be, because they're preserving it to perpetuity, I believe.
That's right.
And
yeah.
it's environmentally sensitive or important land.
That's typically how we target the preserves and the lands that we want to protect. But yes, we're non-government, so we're not really at risk for any of those issues that you're talking about. In some cases, we transfer land to government agencies if it makes sense from a conservation standpoint. But for the most part, we protect these landscapes because they're really important for biodiversity, or for nearby communities, or just because they're beautiful landscapes.
Do you have a time where you say we need to acquire this land to preserve it at any point?
At this point, kind of in the trajectory of the Nature Conservancy, our land protection is really strategic, and we try to identify big blocks, multi-thousand acre blocks of land that have a really significant regional conservation purpose.
Okay.
Other than that, we don't do the land protection as much as we do science now.
Okay.
We have about 30 more seconds for this segment. Any last important words you'd like the community to know?
Yeah, I'd like people to get outside this month. It's April, the weather's warming up.
Finally.
Finally, yep. Go enjoy the flowers, get outdoors, exercise, garden. Come see us on the mall this Saturday at the March for Science. Come plant trees with us. Come on a hike with us, and just get outside and enjoy yourself.
Well, very good. Thanks for joining us. Thanks. It was a very
Thanks for having
important message. Charlotte, tell us about the agriculture and the farming.
Well, everybody likes to eat. So, I mean, if you ate today, thank a farmer. So we try to encourage more folks in Maryland to purchase Maryland-produced products. So we offer plenty of protein like chicken, but also we are seeing an increase in small livestock, so goats, sheep, and then dairy's having some problems. So please drink milk and eat ice cream. We are expecting to lose dairy farms.
Why is that? Not
Well,
to
right now
interrupt you, but
we have a system of excess supply. The biggest producer or the biggest consumer of milk products has traditionally been school systems.
interesting.
So with the move to pull out high-fat products, that resulted in the removal of chocolate milk and strawberry-flavored milks from school menus. So kids
Interesting.
are drinking less, and we're seeing the
That's-
demand fall off.
So is there an effort to maybe have those rules changed a little bit to put it back? Is
Yeah.
it's worse to have Coke, instead of
Right,
chocolate milk.
and we're seeing now a lot of the policy was based off the idea that fats were a problem in the American diet, and it's really sugars. So we're not asking to bring back the high sugar strawberry milks. I mean, was the popular milk, but looking at least bringing back full fat milk, because we're seeing kids don't drink skim milk, and that's what's being offered. So if we could bring back at least the higher fat content milks, we're hopeful that would increase demand.
And that's a state decision, or
That's a federal decision.
Federal decision.
Yeah, that was done.
What agency would be responsible for that?
Well, it was under the regulations of USDA, I
Okay.
believe. Yeah, and this was part of the former First Lady's project of eating healthier, but at the time it was more of that focus on sugar.
and now we know that actually, as you say, high-fat milk is good for people. You know, it has
Right.
some
I was getting ready to say there's healthy
change. The
fat.
science changes every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Oh, is
there's
that
healthy
right?
fat.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, there is
Healthy
healthy
fat.
fat.
Was
Right.
MyPlate part of that initiative?
Yeah, that was part
that's
of
right.
it, and we're hopeful that we'll have some flexibility on that, so that we can bring back the milk into.
Well,
the
you
school
know, right
systems.
now there's some ad campaigns going out with some athletes talking about that they stop drinking milk.
Yeah.
And I've seen that, and
Yeah.
that has effect on the industry as well.
That and almond.
Mhm.
I'm not supposed to call it milk. It's
Yeah.
juice. You know,
Yes.
all these alternatives.
Alternatives.
It turns out a lot of people think they're lactose intolerant,
Mhm.
and it's really they're sensitive to a specific protein. So now we're moving into cows that produce milk that lack that protein.
Oh.
Oh, my
So it's
goodness.
the A2 milk that's coming out. So they are looking at new products to
That's
address some of these issues. But
And we need to talk to some of these fitness trainers, because they're talking about the human body wasn't meant to, consume milk, because it's harder for your body to digest it.
Right.
But it's, again, what you just said, it's the type of
Yeah.
protein that's really there.
And there are special, and for protein, there's now high protein content milk, where they have special cows that certain Ayrshires have a certain higher fat content in their milk that it's got a slightly different, richer flavor, and so we encourage people to try out those products too.
These are all available in regular grocery stores.
Yep, generally.
I haven't looked in a long time. Interesting.
So what are the
Oh,
big
yeah.
crops that we grow in Maryland?
In Maryland, we're poultry. It's our largest product by far. We're the 8th largest producer in the country of poultry. Our entire Eastern Shore economy relies on poultry
That's right.
production. So keep eating your chickens and chicken wings. And then after that, it's grain and soybeans, because they're growing the feed for the chickens. But we're under a lot of pressure there with the threats to the trade agreements through NAFTA, as well as the current China tariff that's been, in reaction to the steel tariff, they put up tariffs on our soybeans products, which really impacts our Maryland grain producers. So we'd like
How
to
does
see
it
some
affect
flexibility.
loss of revenue?
Well, they lost the contract. So our largest buyer of our products in the country was Mexico. Well, with the discussion with the wall and NAFTA, they've now switched all their contracts to Brazil. So they're no longer purchasing our corn. So
Wow.
we're going to be seeing an excess in corn. We're already overproducing corn. That's why we have ethanol and all the biofuels. But it's going to get worse. This is an unintended consequence of some of these trade discussions we're having, and unfortunately, farmers are probably going to feel.
And people
some of
forget that
this.
the retailers locally, some of the larger chains, they buy locally.
Yeah.
That's the corn, the grains,
Right.
and everything. So that also will be a factor, because they can purchase but so much, locally to sell out. So that's a big issue.
Yeah,
That's
and
really
our
awesome.
problem in Maryland is access to land. That's why we're very active in the land use discussions, land conservation. We just got out of the session. This is the first year in decades that the governor's going to fully fund program open space, which is our primary
news.
source of funding.
To acquire new land, or
to
just
acquire
to maintain.
new land,
So
to
the
put on
agricultural reserve is
easements.
growing, you mean?
Well, there's finite, but we have more money available now to purchase those easements and make sure that they stay agricultural,
see.
in perpetuity.
And on
Well, on that note, very good, very informative, very informative. It's amazing how much I don't know. We have to take a break right now, but we will be right back. Thank you. And we're back. Stuart,
Fred?
tell us about art for over 50.
Sure. For any amateurs who are watching this show right now, or no friends who are amateur artists of any kind, we're having our first ever celebration of the arts online art competition for amateurs over 50. We have 4 categories of art: any kind of painting or drawing of any sort, any kind of three-dimensional art, by which we mean sculpture or pottery or jewelry making or even kind of fiber art, anything that's got 3 dimensions to it. Then there's photography, digital photography, whether it's a regular beautiful picture you took or whether it's something you've manipulated online with Photoshop or something. I mean, on a computer with Photoshop. And then poetry. So we're trying to branch out that as well. So the idea is you can enter up to 3 items in each of those 4 categories in this competition. We have professional judges, and there's going to be first, second, third place, and honorable mentions. We're going to have actual shows at galleries for the winners. There's going to be cash prizes and awards. And there'll be a special section in the Beacon where we write up each of the winning people and their work.
Now, do they? How does one see the art online?
It's an
Everything's
online competition, right? And
Oh.
until we get to the actual winners at the exhibition, where the real pieces will be on exhibit. But this is, you take pictures. So you upload pictures of your art, up to 2 pictures per piece. And then there'll be professional judging of those photographs and the winning. But I should mention there's a $10 entry fee for each item. But your first item of $10 entitles you to a year's membership in the Maryland Federation of Art, which is our partner in this competition.
Oh.
And they have a wonderful association and a great website where, in addition to all the other benefits of other exhibitions and contests and things that they offer, they give every member their own bio and their own gallery page.
Wow.
And you can have up to 20 items of your artwork there, and you can give the direct website address to all your friends and your family, and people can go on there and see your work.
What made y'all decide to do that?
Actually, it's a very good question. We had a reader come to us and say that she had her 90-year-old mother decided, for some reason, at the age of 90, that she had never learned any art or anything, and she took an art class, and she started doing pottery, and she said, this was a lot of fun. So then she took a drawing class, and then she took a sculpture class, and then she took a jewelry making class, and she lived to 100, and for 10 years she blossomed
Wow.
in
Really?
all of these arts. And this woman said to us, that there's all these people who read your paper, and they're probably in that stage of life, for many of them, and they have this potential and they don't even know it. So
Wow.
we decided we're going to take that idea and run with it
Are
and
you
make it
going to allow
into
the
a
works
competition.
be for sale if somebody wants to
It's up to the
purchase them?
individual. If they want to sell it, that's fine with us. But there's no, actually you can sell your work on that website of Maryland Federation of Art too. You
Now,
can.
how do you know that they're amateur? When you say amateur,
Well, we have to take people's word for it.
Yes.
But I mean, if someone were to win and other people were to say, "Hey, wait a minute, you're a well-known artist with a gallery show already," that
that
would,
Henry Hailstock's a great artist.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could- yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's
So I mean, there's lots of opportunity there for people, and we hope that they'll enter it.
And
You have
just
until June. You have 3 months in which
for
to.
inference. That's the
do this.
when's the deadline?
June 29th.
Okay.
But in the
This is
meantime,
the
you can-
first year?
First time ever.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be successful. We'll continue and do it again.
Are you limiting entries for many individuals, or just one per entry?
No,
or
three items per
Three,
category.
okay.
So they can enter up to 12 pieces if they happen to do poetry as well as photography as well as sculpture or whatever.
Right.
It's up to them. Yeah. So.
All I know is roses are red, violets are blue.
It's catchy,
What else is going on in the community?
Well, in
that
this
you're
month's issue
covering?
of the Beacon, our April issue, we have our quarterly housing and home care options pull-out section. So it's a 20-page section with all kinds of articles about staying in your own home, aging in place,
Right.
moving to retirement communities, what kind of options there are. There's an article about smart homes and how to find ways of making your home more technologically
Gotcha.
sophisticated.
That's interesting.
Article on 50-plus co-housing opportunities, which are new, co-housing just for people over 50, that's different. An article on Medicare coverage for home care, because a lot of home care companies apparently are denying coverage to people who are sort of reached a plateau. They're not getting any better, but they're not getting any worse. And there was a court case a couple of years ago that said, no, you have to continue, as long as you're keeping
Yeah.
people where they are, you have to
Yeah.
continue providing the
Yeah,
service.
yeah.
Right.
So you really have to argue, you have to fight for this. So this article tells you how to do that.
That's interesting.
Lots of interesting stories.
I throw these dates out often. 1946 to 1964.
Boomers.
That's the baby boomers.
All present, raise your hand.
Yeah, no, you don't have to. But we're going to see more and more of this
Oh, absolutely.
information needed
Yes.
Well, no
in
question.
your next topic.
So
yes.
read the Beacon. We'll be happy to. It's free every month. Pick it up.
And I didn't want to cut you off, but what other things do you
Well,
want to
there's
highlight?
a scam story this month, very interesting, and that we often write about
Scam, did you
scams,
say?
things
Yeah.
to be aware
Yeah.
of. This is one I hadn't really thought of before. When you're online, and especially on social media and stuff, you see these polls pop up. They ask you a question just for fun.
Right.
Well, who was your favorite teacher? What was the make of your first car? And all this. You think it's just fun. Actually, there are people out there, scammers who are collecting this data, putting it together with your name and your social security number or your address or something, and that's the information that banks and others ask for your
Yes.
security
What?
code, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They're
Yes.
getting the information to match it up
Yes.
with you and
Yes.
access to your ID and steal it. So
Well, on that
Be careful with
fine
that.
note,
Yes.
thank you for all this information. Look
Sure.
forward to hearing more about the artists' festivities.
Sure. Thank you.
Henry,
Yes.
Alzheimer's disease.
Hmm?
No, that's not funny. No, tell us what should we know? What should citizens know about?
Well, let's face it. Everyone knows about Alzheimer's, and for years we've said this is inevitable once you get old and everything else, and there is basically nothing you basically can do, and back when they used to just throw a lot of medication at you once you caught it, but now we're looking at it, and they have clinics now that are working on this that you can delay it, set it back, and possibly overcome it. It really depends. But there is not, to beat Alzheimer's, there's not a one size fits
no
all.
cure, yeah.
No cure.
But they're looking at it and saying that let's say you're 50, you have 20 to 25 years before you start seeing the symptoms and carrying on and on. Unfortunately, women are more susceptible for Alzheimer's than men.
Wow.
And that's like a 1 in 3 chance of getting Alzheimer's as you age. But once you reach the plateau of 85, it's 50-50. But I say delaying it is a lot better than actually inevitable. And there is, when I say that, it's not one size fits all. It means that they're really looking at the fact that the mix of lifestyle, age, your genetics, the environment, and your health condition all contribute to the brain change of Alzheimer's.
When you say lifestyle, you're thinking about diet and exercise and things of that sort?
All the above.
They can help push off the...
delay it.
Right.
They say delay it,
Yeah.
and that's true. And they've seen that change. They now have several clinics that measure all that. And what I've been telling everyone when I come here and talk about, getting ready for the summer and, physical fitness and everything else, I mentioned the diets and everything, and that's what you need to do. You stop and think about it. Your lifestyle is the important thing, whether it's your diet or whether it's actually how you deal with stress and trying to prevent that. When I say, diet, green is good,
Right.
and looking at all that. And I think that's very important. Also, what I tell people to do is get tested. If you're really concerned about not catching the disease or delaying it, take a physical. Number one, check your blood.
All this
Yeah, the
indicators.
blood, high
right.
blood pressure, cholesterol, and all the other markers there to see where you stand with it. They can even check your genes and see if you're genetically inclined for it. Really, looking at when you were 20 to where you are now, how much of your waste has increased.
We won't talk about that. Stuart, did you want to say
we
something?
have an article in this month's issue about super-agers, which is
Okay.
a study being done of people in their 90s who have amazing memories, haven't had any sign of any loss.
Yeah.
But it mentions in that story that 40% of people who die over the age of 90 without any sign of Alzheimer's in their daily life have complete full-blown Alzheimer's in their brains.
Is that right?
So there are all these people out there who could have Alzheimer's but have avoided it because of
Avoided.
these other things. So it really does seem to be something we can have an impact.
Now, what we're saying is not saying that you won't get it if you do all these things, because it really depends on the individual, and individuals are different.
Are there
But-
things that we could be doing, exercises to
Oh, absolutely,
Hypothetically,
absolutely.
someone in their mid-30s, should they be starting to think about these issues?
They start to thinking about it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about as far as the lifestyle is concerned, obviously how you live, how you walk, how you exercise and everything else, besides
Sleep.
doing walking, running and everything else, do some resistance training, weight training, and that helps. Also, it's how you sleep. Do you dream?
Right.
In other words, do you fall asleep and get, and dream, get that full sleep so that your brain can,
clean
kick out the
out,
waste.
right.
Yeah, clean out the waste and all. Also, looking at basically what you do, the day-to-day at work and at home, who you associate with, and measure your cognitive or your thinking skills as well. I work on Sudoku. I don't know how many people work. Oh, that's, it got kind of
Oh, I do that every day.
Sudoku, and
Yeah.
my wife does the Washington Post puzzle
Yep.
every day.
I do too.
And things like that help.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to a clinic to get measured, they get an hour and a half of cognitive, testing to, prove on that. And also, it's like what we do. We have different age groups that we socialize with, and that helps.
Yep.
Because interacting with individuals, I was talking to one of the producers here, and they were saying that I think that helps her because she has young as well as middle-aged and old that she interacts with, and that's good. And as well, you should. So that lifestyle and everything else, you can't really change that much about your genes, but you can knock it back a little bit.
On that note, I want to thank all of you. It was an excellent, excellent show. Thank you, all of you, for joining me this week. And thank you for joining all of us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Fred Evans. Please join us next week at the same time. Thank you all.
But of course, if you keep getting hit side the head.